The McLaren F1, born from the singular vision of Gordon Murray, was never intended to be a race car. It was conceived as the definitive road-going hypercar, a masterpiece of engineering that prioritized lightness, power, and analog purity. Yet, its inherent perfection meant that when it was adapted for the GTR race series, it didn't just compete, it conquered, spectacularly winning the 1995 24 Hours of Le Mans in its debut year. This unprecedented success was both a blessing and a curse. It validated the F1's genius, but it fundamentally changed the landscape of endurance racing, particularly the burgeoning GT1 class. Rival manufacturers, especially Porsche and soon Mercedes-Benz, saw the F1's dominance as an existential threat. They realized that beating a highly engineered road car adapted for racing required creating something new entirely, purpose-built race prototypes disguised as road cars. The GT1 rulebook, which mandated only a minimal number of road-going versions to qualify a racer, became a loophole. Porsche was the first to exploit this, debuting the formidable 911 GT1 in 1996. This was not a 911, it was a pure mid-engined racer that shared only headlights and a silhouette with its namesake. The 1996 season quickly exposed the limitations of the original F1 GTR. While the F1 was a marvel of adaptation, its architecture, based on a chassis optimized for a three-seat road car, could not compete aerodynamically or structurally with the new mid-engined monsters. The F1 GTR, which had been the class leader, was now struggling to keep pace, frequently outpaced by the Porsche GT1, especially in high-speed, high-downforce circuits. For the small, dedicated McLaren racing team, led by figures like Paul Lanzante, the writing was on the wall. Without radical intervention, the F1's racing career was over. The pride of Woking demanded a response. The challenge presented to Gordon Murray and the technical team was immense. How do you fundamentally redesign a car that was considered perfect? They had to find a way to make a 2-year-old road car platform competitive against purpose-built prototypes in the fastest evolving category of motorsport. Their solution was to lean into the F1's core philosophy, lightness and aerodynamic efficiency, and stretch the rules to their absolute breaking point. The goal for the 1997 season was clear: a complete, non-compromised overhaul. This was the genesis of Project GTR 97, leading to the creation of the most extreme version of the F1 ever conceived, the Longtail. The name alone symbolized the desperate, final push for aerodynamic superiority, attempting to outsmart physics itself in a desperate defense of their legacy. The battle for the soul of the GT1 class was about to reach its peak. The Longtail project was a stark admission: the original F1 GTR had reached its limit against the new wave of purpose-built GT1 prototypes. The response, spearheaded by Gordon Murray and the dedicated engineering team, was a total overhaul of the car's architecture, driven by the philosophy of absolute efficiency. This focus manifested in two key areas: extreme weight reduction and revolutionary aerodynamics. The most visually striking change was the bodywork. The car was famously extended by over 600 millimeters, 2 feet, at the rear, giving it the iconic Longtail moniker. This wasn't merely a cosmetic addition, it was a complex aerodynamic solution. By lengthening the tail and subtly reshaping the rear diffuser, the engineers were able to manage airflow separation more effectively, drastically reducing aerodynamic drag while simultaneously increasing downforce without resorting to the extreme wing angles seen on competitors. The extended body smoothed the transition of air, making the car incredibly slippery at high speeds, a critical advantage on Le Mans' long straights. Complementing this was a massive, fixed, but integrated rear wing connected to the bodywork via swan neck pylons, ensuring that the downforce was maximized without choking the necessary airflow. Beyond the visible elongation, the structural weight loss was obsessive. The target was to shed 100 kilograms from the already featherlight GTR. This was achieved through extreme measures: the use of thinner, lighter carbon fiber panels in the chassis structure, replacing heavy alloy components with specialized, lightweight composite materials, and even simplifying wiring harnesses to save mere grams. The original gearbox was replaced with a new, bespoke Extract 6-speed sequential gearbox, a lighter, quicker shifting unit that was absolutely crucial for driver performance and component durability over 24 hours. Even the BMW S70 halves of a V12 engine was subjected to a diet, with lightweight modifications to its internals and ancillary components. This relentless focus on weight and aerodynamics was necessary because of the regulatory environment. The GT1 rules mandated air restrictors on the intake systems of all cars, which limited the total horsepower output, estimated at around 600 horsepower for the Longtail, significantly less than the street version. Since engine power could not be significantly increased, the only path to competitive speed was to reduce drag and inertia. The Longtail, therefore, became a masterful illustration of Murray's principles. Its speed wasn't derived from brute force, but from its efficiency. It simply carried more speed through the corners and wasted less energy fighting the air than any other car on the grid. The engineering was so advanced that it truly made the competition, which often relied on pure, heavy power, seem archaic. The technical brilliance of the Longtail's chassis and aerodynamics would have been meaningless without a heart capable of sustaining the punishment of endurance racing. That heart was the BMW S70 6.1-liter V12, meticulously engineered by BMW Motorsport, under the direction of the legendary Paul Rosche. This naturally aspirated engine was, and remains, a masterpiece of motorsport engineering, celebrated for its unique power delivery, torque characteristics, and, most famously, its unmistakable, high-pitched scream. While the engine was restricted to approximately 600 horsepower, its core strength was torque and reliability. Unlike its turbocharged rivals, the naturally aspirated V12 delivered power linearly and predictably, a massive advantage for drivers managing 24 hours of varying track conditions. Furthermore, the engine's relative mechanical simplicity, compared to complex turbo systems, meant it was robust and easier to service during critical pit stops, a crucial factor that often separates winners from failures in endurance classics like Le Mans. The engine's exhaust note, a high-frequency, metallic howl that could pierce the loudest grandstands, became the sound of McLaren's defiance against the new generation of turbocharged prototypes. The Longtail debuted in the 1997 FIA GT Championship with immediate, spectacular success. The car was campaigned by several top-tier privateer teams, including the renowned GTC Gulf team Davidoff and BMW Motorsport. Its combination of lightweight, massive grip, and reliable power made it instantly competitive, often managing to defeat the purpose-built Porsche 911 GT1 on various tracks. The drivers praised the Longtail's superior balance and handling, citing the immense downforce that allowed them to attack corners with a confidence no other car in the field could match. The car secured important victories, proving that the radical redesign was a success. The ultimate test arrived at the 1997 24 Hours of Le Mans. The race was a brutal, full-scale battle against the powerful Porsche GT1S. The Longtails performed flawlessly. In a race of relentless attrition, reliability proved to be the Longtail's greatest weapon. Despite the Porsche team's efforts to push the pace, the McLaren F1 GTR Longtail persevered. The result was a stunning second and third place overall finish, a phenomenal achievement for a car that began life as a road car chassis, beaten only by a fully evolved Porsche prototype. The Longtail had successfully defended the F1's honor, proving its ability to compete at the very pinnacle of endurance racing. The 1997 season stood as the F1's final, glorious statement against the rising tide of full-scale prototype racers. The success of the Longtail, while a massive victory for McLaren's engineering team, inadvertently sealed the fate of the GT1 class and the F1 GTR itself. The Longtail was so effective at stretching the rules that it signaled to rivals that pure, dedicated prototypes were the only way forward. In 1998, Mercedes-Benz unleashed its definitive answer, the CLK GTR. This was a GT1 car in name only, a sleek, purpose-built machine that bore only a passing resemblance to its road-going namesake. The CLK GTR was lighter, more rigid, and more aerodynamically extreme than even the Longtail. The arrival of the Mercedes CLK GTR changed the game overnight, pushing the GT1 class into the realm of pure, unadulterated prototypes. The regulations had effectively created a class where the original spirit, racing cars derived from production models, was completely lost. The McLaren F1 GTR, even in its highly evolved Longtail form, could no longer compete with these bespoke machines designed from a blank sheet of paper specifically for the racetrack. For the 1998 season, the decision was made to retire the F1 GTR program from top-tier endurance racing. However, the legacy of the Longtail extends far beyond its brief racing career. The extreme nature of the Longtail's modifications necessitated the creation of the road legal equivalent, the F1 GT. Only 3 F1 GT road cars were ever produced, just enough to satisfy the homologation requirements for the 1997 racing season. These road-legal Longtails, featuring the extended rear bodywork and the streamlined profile, are today among the rarest and most coveted vehicles in the world, serving as tangible, street-legal monuments to the Longtail's racing achievement. The McLaren F1 GTR Longtail represents the apex of the analog hypercar era. It was the last moment in top-tier endurance racing where a car that was fundamentally a road car, albeit one highly modified, could challenge, and often defeat, purpose-built prototypes. It was a victory for efficiency, genius, and the relentless pursuit of lightness over the crude application of power. The Longtail proved that Gordon Murray's initial philosophy, that a car built for pure driving could, with radical modifications, conquer the world's toughest circuits, was not only true but was capable of pushing the boundaries of physics itself. Today, the sight and, more importantly, the piercing scream of the Longtail's V12 are instantly recognizable to any track lore enthusiast, a definitive soundtrack marking the close of a legendary chapter in motorsport history.